Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. US and UK urge citizens to leave Lebanon immediately amid soaring tensions in West Asia. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepts barrage of rockets fired from Lebanon into Israel early on Sunday. Renewed rioting sweeps British cities following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England. Thousands rally in Venezuela opposing Nicolas Maduro's poll victory claims. Opposition leader Maria Corina joins the protesters. At Paris Olympics, Indian hockey team to clash with Britain in the quarterfinals, while shuttler Lakshay Sen will battle it out in the semis. Amid the growing tensions in West Asia, the United States and United Kingdom issued warnings to their citizens in Lebanon to leave the country immediately on Saturday. The US Embassy in Beirut has urged its citizens to leave Lebanon on any ticket available, whereas giving similar warning, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy said that the regional situation could deteriorate rapidly. The recent unrest was triggered by the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh on Wednesday and killing of Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in Beirut. It is feared that the terror group Hezbollah could play a heavy role in any such retaliation, which in turn could spark a serious Israeli response. As tensions continue to rise in West Asia, Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system went into action early on Sunday, intercepting a barrage of rockets. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden expressed hope that Iran would stand down despite its threat to avenge the assassination of Hamas leader in Tehran, as fears mounted that Israel-Gaza conflict could escalate into a wider West Asia conflict. Haniyeh's death was one in a series of killings of senior Hamas figures as the Gaza conflict nears its 11th month, while Hamas said that it had begun a broad consultation process to choose a new leader. Seeking to bolster defense in the West Asia in response to threats from Israel's foes, the Pentagon said on Friday that it would deploy additional fighter jets and Navy warships to the region. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said on Saturday that Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Tehran by a short-range projectile with a warhead of about 7 kilograms. Iran and Hamas have accused Israel of carrying out the strike that killed Haniyeh hours after he attended the inauguration of Iran's new president. The New York Times reported that the explosion which killed Haniyeh was a bomb that was covertly smuggled into the guest house where he was staying in Tehran 2 months ago. Foreign governments continue to warn their citizens to leave Lebanon immediately amidst fears of all-out war between the country's Hezbollah militant group and Israel. It comes as the US moves military assets to the region, pledging to defend Israel against any major attacks from Iran or its proxies. From Beirut, DD India correspondent Trent Murray gets us more.
Well, the anxious waiting game for the people of Beirut and Lebanon more broadly continues as they wait and watch to see what happens next in this ongoing conflict. We, of course, know Hezbollah, which is based here in Lebanon, has vowed to respond and said there is a new phase of the war with Israel, given that airstrike here in the southern suburbs of the city earlier this week. Many foreign governments also clearly concerned about this escalation and where this situation is heading. We saw the US government this Saturday advise any Americans in Lebanon to book any commercial international flight that is still available, regardless of the destination, even offering financial assistance to help people purchase expensive last-minute tickets. I think that is an insight into the American thinking right now. They clearly believe that this situation could be on the brink of a major war. Of course, Hezbollah forms an important part of what is described as the axis of resistance by them that is led by Iran. They too are vowing to respond to a separate airstrike in Tehran. Of course, we are seeing military assets being moved into the region, largely from the United States. Washington has pledged to help Israel defend itself, but the concern is that these sort of unwritten rules of engagement, which have been in place since October of last year between Israel and Lebanon, well, they now have been torn up by that airstrike, and we could be about to see a very dangerous and deadly phase of this conflict. Diplomats, you can imagine, working the phones right now, trying to avoid that. A reminder, the Indian government is warning any Indian nationals in Lebanon right now to make plans to leave. Trent Murray for DD India, Beirut.
Some 2,000 people had been detained in connection to crimes during protests over the controversial results of the presidential elections. During a rally in Caracas, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro pledged maximum punishment and accused the detainees of committing serious offences. Venezuela's electoral authority proclaimed Maduro as the winner in last Sunday's vote. The published election results sparked widespread allegations of fraud and protests. Subsequently, security forces cracked down on the protests, which Maduro's government labelled as part of an attempted US-backed coup. The presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia called for Venezuela to release detailed voting tallies amid the dispute over presidential election results. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado joined her supporters protesting on the streets of Caracas. The supporters were happy to see Machado amongst them after the leader said in a Thursday op-ed for the Wall Street Journal that she was hiding and feared for her life. In addition to Caracas, demonstrations took place in cities including Valencia, Maracaibo and San Cristobal. Marches backing Maduro were expected to begin later, yet some of his supporters were already on the streets. Venezuelans across Latin America took to the streets on Saturday to protest and demand transparency and justice in their home country's recent election results. In Buenos Aires, Argentina's capital, demonstrators gathered at Obelisk Monument, waving flags and singing the national anthem. In Mexico City, protesters rallied at Simon Bolivar's monument to protest against the election of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan community in Bogota, Colombia's capital, protested at Simon Bolivar Square, chanting slogans and calling for international intervention to safeguard democracy in Venezuela. Meanwhile, in Peru, attendees prayed and said that they were defending their votes outside the Venezuelan embassy in Lima. The Venezuelan community across Latin America has grown significantly in recent years, with many fleeing economic crisis and political instability. Hundreds of Venezuelans living in Madrid gathered at Puerto del Sol Square on Saturday to voice their support for opposition leaders protesting in Caracas in Venezuela. The demonstration in Madrid mirrored a protest called by opposition leaders in Caracas on the same day. Venezuelans around the world have been expressing their discontent following the election held last Sunday, after which Nicolas Maduro was declared the winner. Let's turn focus to United Kingdom. Now, far-right activists and anti-racism groups continued clashes in cities across the United Kingdom on Saturday following a stabbing attack at a dance class in northwest England last week, which resulted in 3 young girls being killed and several others injured. False claims that the teenage suspect in the attack is a radical Muslim migrant have intensified tensions, leading to confrontation between anti-immigration groups and police. Despite a court order lifting the suspect's anonymity to address misinformation, unrest persists across the nation. In Stoke-on-Trent, bricks were thrown at officers, and in Hull, windows of a hotel housing migrants were smashed. In Liverpool, a police officer was kicked off his motorbike. Scuffles were also reported in Belfast, Manchester and Nottingham. Renewed street violence in British cities on Saturday left several police officers injured as they faced 4th day of unrest following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England earlier in the week. A shoe shop in the east coast city of Hull was set on fire amid the violence, while mounted police clashed with protesters in the southwestern city of Bristol. Authorities in Hull said 4 people were arrested and 3 officers were injured while dealing with protests Riots involving hundreds of anti-immigration protesters have erupted in several towns and cities in recent days after false information spread rapidly on social media that the suspect in Monday's knife attack at a dance class for children in Southport was a radical Muslim migrant. Violent disorder swept across several British cities, injuring police and damaging property in the most widespread rioting in the country for 13 years following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England. Eyewitness video showed protesters targeting a shop front in Liverpool. While some rioters kicked and beat its window with a pole, others shouted and attempted to lift its shutter. Interior Minister Yacht Cooper on Saturday condemned violence and unrest in British cities following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England. Cooper said that the government fully backed the police and that there were extra prosecutors and sufficient prison places to deal with those breaking the law.
Well, criminal violence and disorder has no place on Britain's streets. We've been clear to the police that they have our full backing in taking the strongest possible action against perpetrators, including we're making sure that there are more prosecutors, there are sufficient prison places, and also that the courts stand ready, because anyone who engages in this kind of disorder needs to be clear that they will pay the price.
Britain's new government said that it will hold an international investment summit on October 14th. Prime Minister Keir Starmer will bring together up to 300 industry leaders to catalyse investment in the United Kingdom. Business Minister Jonathan Reynolds is expected to argue to investors that the UK is a mature trading partner that will allow UK businesses to plan for sustained investment and economic growth over the next decade. Keir Starmer, whose Labour Party returned to government after 14 years, has made economic growth the central mission of his government. US Vice President and Democratic Party presidential nominee Kamala Harris rejected Trump's debate proposal. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump proposed to debate Harris on Fox News for 4th of September. But Harris' campaign countered that Trump was trying to back out of a debate that had already been set to run on ABC. The rules would be similar to the first debate with President Joe Biden, who has since dropped his re-election bid. Trump and Biden had agreed to a second debate on September 10th on ABC News, which the former president had suggested should be moved to Fox, the most popular network with his followers. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, with his running mate J.D. Vance, was on campaign in Atlanta, in Georgia on Saturday. While congratulating Russian President Vladimir Putin on recent prisoners swap, he pulled up Biden for setting bad precedents. Also during his campaign in Georgia, the former U.S. President Donald Trump hit hard on his contender Harris, saying that if she came to power, there will be huge flow of illegal immigration. He also attacked Harris's racial identity. On issue of trade, he said that more stringent taxes would be imposed on China and other countries on the basis of reciprocity.
If I win on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history. To further protect Georgia workers, I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200% right back.
A pre-trial meeting has been scheduled on August 16th in the U.S. criminal case accusing former U.S. President Donald Trump of illegally trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 4 criminal counts, accusing him of a multi-part conspiracy to subvert his 2020 election loss. U.S. District Judge said Trump will not be required to appear in court for the status conference. The district judge also denied 2 of Trump's motions to dismiss the charges against him, one on the basis of statutory grounds and one on the basis of vindictive and selective prosecution. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, anti-quota movement announces 1-point demand in Bangladesh, even as non-cooperation movement to be enforced from Sunday. Health officials in Democratic Republic of Congo struggle to contain a new strain of monkeypox. The rise of artificial intelligence in music creation has raised fears and concern amidst the music fraternity in the US.
Welcome to Kumarakom, Kerala, God's own country.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's continue getting you more updates. Russian authorities reported intercepting dozens of drones over several regions. In Kyiv, officials say that Ukraine carried out attacks on a number of military targets in Russia, including an airfield and oil depot, including in Belgorod, Kursk and Rostov regions. All that comes as Moscow insists its readiness for a peaceful settlement of the conflict. Dasha Chernishova is in Moscow with more on this.
With fighting ongoing in Ukraine, Moscow reiterates its openness to the negotiated settlement of the conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said talks are a preferred way of settling down this conflict. And even though Moscow doubts the legitimacy of the Ukrainian authorities, Russia says it can find those whom to negotiate with. Peskov also said that the conflict is very complex, though its roots are clear to Moscow. It says the West tried to establish what Moscow describes the concentration of anti-Russian forces by the Russian borders. Russian Foreign Ministry also said that Moscow is willing to cooperate with all parties seeking to help to resolve the conflict. But Moscow says the goals of its operation will have to be achieved one way or another, and Russian concerns should be taken into account. In the meantime, Russian Defense Ministry says its forces have captured 5 settlements in the Donetsk region over the past week. On Saturday, Russian air defense systems destroyed at least 75 Ukrainian drones in several regions, including in Belgrade, Kursk and Rostov. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova also said that Ukraine's threats to blow up the Crimean Bridge may be a part of the U.S. presidential election campaign. Dasha Chernishova reported in Moscow for DD India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered humanitarian aid to North Korea, which has been hit by heavy rainfall and floods. According to North Korea's state media, Putin displayed his willingness to provide immediate humanitarian support for the recovery from the flood damage. Kim thanked the offer but said since his government has already taken measures to conduct recovery work, he would ask for help if aid is necessary. Heavy rains have pummeled the northwestern areas in recent days, flooding more than 4,000 homes and isolating some 5,000 residents. Kim personally inspected the affected areas and oversaw rescue efforts. An outbreak of Mpox in the Democratic Republic of Congo is raising concerns about the spread of the virus globally. Health officials in the Central African country are struggling to contain a new strain of the disease. The Congolese government recently approved the use of 2 Mpox vaccines to try and stop the spread of the disease that was previously known as monkeypox. Chris Ochemringa has more from Kinshasa.
That is spreading rapidly in the region. The strain, known as Clade 1b, is reported to be deadlier than previous ones. Authorities fear the disease is spreading because many people are not seeking treatment.
The situation is very bad. We had expected to contain the disease by now, but it has continued spreading. One of the major reasons is that people are running away from us. They prefer getting treated by traditional doctors.
The DRC government recently approved the use of 2 Mpox vaccines to curb the spread of the disease, which has claimed more than 400 lives since the start of this year. 8,000 doses are expected in the country in September.
The only way of preventing the spread of Mpox is through vaccination. We are happy that our government authorized the use of vaccines in June. We have 2 vaccines that have been approved for people to use.
Mpox is a viral infection that spreads through close contact with infected people or wild animals. The disease is common in the forested areas of Central and West Africa. In 2022, a global outbreak of the disease affected more than 100 countries.
The first human case of Mpox was discovered in the DRC in 1970. The viral infection has continued claiming lives in many remote areas of the country because health facilities do not have testing kits. The situation has been made worse by the refusal of some patients to seek medical care. Chris Ochemringa in Kinshasa, reporting for DD India.
Nigeria has deployed military personnel to join the police to prevent criminals and looters from causing more havoc as the result of protests in the country. The protests, which started peacefully on Thursday, turned violent in some states, with about 15 people reportedly killed. DD India's Tessa Makande reports from Jose.
Nigeria's Defense Chief General Christopher Musa announced the move during a press conference. Protesters have been on the streets against what they call bad governance and hardship in the country. Food inflation was at 40.8% in June this year, compared to 25.5% last year, which is very difficult for most Nigerians. The protesters say insecurity has put many farmers off cultivating. The removal of subsidies on petrol has also led to a hike in transportation costs and has made the situation much worse. Nigerian defense officials say while people have the constitutional right to protest, the destruction of property won't be tolerated. The country's Inspector General of Police says one police officer was killed on Thursday and several others injured by the protesters. The President Bola Tinubu-led government says the demands of the protesters have been heard and has promised to initiate policies that will cushion the hardship. Tassim Akende in Jos reporting for DD India.
In Bangladesh, protesters have outrightly rejected Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's proposal for talks and announced a one-point demand for the resignation of the government. The coordinators of the quota reform movement announced it at a massive rally at the central Shahid Minar in Dhaka on Saturday evening. Nahid Islam, Sargis Alam and other key coordinators of the movement also said that they will enforce the non-cooperation movement starting from Sunday. Nahid Islam, Sargis Alam and other coordinators announced it at a massive rally in central Shahid Minar in Dhaka on Saturday evening. They also said that they will enforce the non-cooperation movement from Sunday onwards. The announcement came after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called upon the agitating students to sit with her at Gono Babhan to end the violence centering the quota reform protests. Naval Sangh Parmar is joining us from Dhaka. Good morning, Naval. Get us the latest. We tell our viewers that the situation is tense in Bangladesh, and also one-point demand for the resignation of the government has been put forth by the protesters. Get us the latest first.
Yes, the situation here in Bangladesh is very tense as today is the day of non-cooperation movement, which is called by the protester. Particularly earlier it was a student protest, and now it is a protest, mass protest from the people, and the people of all walk of life now supporting the movement. And the non-cooperation movement was announced on Friday, but yesterday there were a development from the government side also, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina offered to talk, and she said that the doors of the Gano Bhavan is open for the students, but the student, as you mentioned, that outrightly rejected demand or rejected offer of the talks with the Prime Minister, and they have now a single point, one-point demand, and that is the resignation of Sheikh Hasina-led government in Bangladesh. And they also demand that there should be a neutral government, formation of neutral government, and the fresh election for the upcoming days in Bangladesh.
All right, I would want you to explain more to us what are exactly the protesters demanding, because it started with the reservation, but then we also saw common people participating in the protest. It is not just student-centric protest now that is happening in Bangladesh. What is the bone of contention between the protesters and the government? What is it that they are demanding from the government?
Earlier, it was a quota reforms movement, and in that the protesters were asking, mainly the students, for the reforms in the quota system. There were a 56% quota in the government job, and in that 30% of block was reserved for the children and grandchildren of the freedom fighters of Bangladesh who fought the liberation war of Bangladesh. The students were demanding to reform the quota system, and during this demand and this movement, on the 16th July and then onwards, there were many casualties during the protest between the clashes between the police and the protester. And then after, there were a blockout of internet, implementation of the curfew.
Yes, please continue. All right, I think we've lost contact there with Naval Singh. We'll try getting back to him.
There are many arrests from the law enforcement agency. So earlier their demand was 9-point demand, and that they were demanding justice to the victim of the movement and reforms in the quotas and the release of the arrested people. But after that, the movement become more popular, and people from a different walk of life also joined, and some political parties, opposition, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, as well as the banned, recently banned Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh and the Shibir also, though they are banned, but they are supporting from hideouts and supporting from the outside to the movements. So now this movement started as a student movement, quota reforms movement, now become a political movement and they are asking for the resignation of the government, Sheikh Hasina-led government.
All right, Naval Singh, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. So that was our correspondent, Naval Singh Parmar, joining us from Bangladesh, telling us more about the current situation there. He tells us that the situation is tense. We'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates from across the world, making it to the headlines. In California, a unique and delightful spectacle takes place annually as dogs and their owners hit the waves in a dog surfing competition. Now, this event, often held at beaches like Huntington Beach, showcase the talent of canines riding surfboards accompanied by their human companions. It is a celebration of surf culture and the bond between the pets and their owners, attracting crowds of spectators and participants from all over. The rise of artificial intelligence in music creation has led to a series of legal battles that are shaping the future of copyright law. Music labels and artists are increasingly suing or threatening legal action against companies that use AI to generate music, alleging that these systems infringe on copyrights by copying elements of existing songs or by using protected content to train their algorithms. Turkey's parliament passed a law to round up millions of stray dogs and put them into shelters despite protests by animal lovers and criticism from the main opposition party, which vowed to challenge the legislation in court. Turkey has an estimated 4 million stray dogs, and supporters of the law cited concerns about attacks, road accidents and rabies. Under the new rules, any dogs showing aggressive behavior or that have untreatable diseases will be put down. The opening parade of the festivities for El Divino Salvador del Mundo, one of El Salvador's most significant religious and cultural celebrations, drew thousands of people to the streets of San Salvador. The event is held annually in the honor of country's patron saint, also known as the Divine Savior of the world. The parade showcased a vibrant display of the nation's rich cultural heritage and deep religious faith. A short break ahead on DD India News Hour, but after the break, Indian Air Force launches intense rescue and relief operations with advanced radars and drones, even as Wayanad continues to reel under flood fury. Prime Minister hails the transformation of India from a food deficit to a food surplus country at the 32nd International Conference of Agricultural Economists. Construction of Tata's semiconductor unit in the Indian state of Assam begins. Plant expected to boost employment.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. US and UK urge citizens to leave Lebanon immediately amid soaring tensions in West Asia. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepts barrage of rockets fired from Lebanon into Israel early on Sunday. Renewed rioting sweeps British cities following the murder of 3 young girls in northwest England. Thousands rally in Venezuela opposing Nicolas Maduro's poll victory claims. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado joins the protesters. At Paris Olympics, Indian hockey team to clash with Britain in the quarterfinals, while shuttler Lakshya Sen will battle it out in the semis. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed remarkable transformation of India from a food deficit to a food surplus country. He projected India's role in ensuring global food security. He was addressing the 32nd edition of International Conference of Agricultural Economists. The conference aims to tackle the pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges.
India is hosting the 32nd edition of International Conference of Agricultural Economists. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the conference on Saturday in New Delhi. The theme for the conference is Transformation Towards Sustainable Agri-Food Systems. In his address, Prime Minister Modi hailed India's food security system.
आज भारत एक फूड सरप्लस देश है। आज भारत दूध, दाल और मसालों का सबसे बड़ा प्रोड्यूसर है। भारत फूड ग्रेन, फ्रूट्स, वेजिटेबल, कॉटन, शुगर, टी, फ्रेम्ड फिश, इनका दूसरा सबसे बड़ा प्रोड्यूसर है। एक वो समय था जब भारत की फूड सिक्योरिटी दुनिया की चिंता का विषय था। एक आज का समय है जब भारत ग्लोबल फूड सिक्योरिटी, ग्लोबल न्यूट्रिशन सिक्योरिटी, इसके सॉल्यूशन देने में जुटा है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also talked about how his government is creating a farmer-friendly ecosystem.
इस साल के बजट में भी बहुत बड़ा फोकस सस्टेनेबल फार्मिंग और क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट फार्मिंग पर है। हम अपने किसानों को सपोर्ट करने के लिए एक पूरा इकोसिस्टम डेवलप कर रहे हैं। भारत का बहुत जोर क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट क्रॉप से जुड़ी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट पर है।
The conference aims to tackle the pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges such as climate change, natural resource degradation, rising production costs and conflicts.
I was really impressed by the Prime Minister's talk today. First of all, coming and supporting a group of agricultural economists from all over the world, but I think it just showcased to me the strong role that the current Indian government places on supporting transformation of agriculture food systems.
This conference is particularly significant because it is held in India. So I think India could show the world how the agriculture and food system can be transformed to improve everybody's food security and nutrition.
The ICAE is being held in India after 65 years. The conference is witnessing participation of around 1,000 delegates from 75 countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted India's growing role in ensuring global food security. The experts at the conference will now deliberate tangible ways to make the future of agriculture sustainable. With camera person Aniket, Shubhendu Ghosh for DT India in Delhi.
Prime Minister in his address at the International Conference of Agricultural Economists said that in Indian agricultural tradition, priority has been given to science and logic. India is committed to global welfare as Vishwa Bandhu and that India's experience in the domain is sure to benefit the global south. Prime Minister's address and India's vision struck a special chord with the visiting delegates who affirmed that India has the power and ability to address food security.
Address was really very effective and it encompassed agriculture, food system, the entire, how India has been doing in agriculture for the last several decades and now it has become a food surplus country. I didn't know about that, that's something wonderful to hear from him, and lots of initiatives that India is doing and taking leadership in agriculture development. That's such a wonderful thing to hear from him.
this conference here in India, because India plays such a prominent role in feeding the world and growing that agricultural production in the future so that we can feed the growing needs of humanity into 2050 and beyond. And this is a perfect venue for that sort of exchange of thoughts and ideas to take place.
For me as a nutritionist, this theme of the conference is really appropriate because agri-food systems are what provide the foods that we eat. Now, if we produce the wrong foods, people will not eat well, and this will lead to some of the malnutrition that we are seeing. And so the theme of the conference is looking at how to change or transform our food systems to ensure that we are producing the right foods in adequate quantities and make it accessible that people can afford it.
I was really pleased to hear the Prime Minister connect to Indian history and agriculture. He mentioned the ancient writings and scriptures of agriculture, and he referred to Sardar Patel, the farmer union-forming senior leader. I can add to that our association was really inspired by the Indian writer and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore. 100 years ago, Tagore said we need agricultural economists to assist farmers' education.
In a major step in the direction of Act East policy, construction of Tata semiconductor unit in the Indian state of Assam began on Saturday. India's Union Minister for Electronics and IT, Ashwini Vaishnav, said that the plant will boost employment in Assam and work to achieve India's semiconductor mission.
Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji had approved a semiconductor unit in Morigaon, Assam. The construction of that plant has started today. This unit will be set up with an investment of 27,000 crore rupees, and it will generate 15,000 direct and 11 to 13,000 indirect jobs. It will manufacture about 4 crore 83 lakh chips per day. Unique thing about this plant is that all the three major technologies which will be deployed in this plant are developed in India.
As rescue operations in South India's Wayanad are underway, around 219 bodies have been recovered so far, while 206 people remain missing. Identifying bodies from the Chalia River in Nilambur continues to be a challenge, with 67 unidentified bodies found till date. The Indian Air Force has launched relief and rescue operations simultaneously in Wayanad for the fourth day. IF contingent has been deployed at Calicut Airport towards HADR in Wayanad following the devastating landslide. On Sunday morning, IF rescue team launched an ALH helicopter to rescue 2 stranded survivors from base of Suchipara waterfalls near Churalmala village in Wayanad. Meanwhile, in the North Indian state of Uttarakhand, the Indian Air Force helicopters Mi-17 V5 and Chinook navigate the challenging weather in the Uttarakhand hills. Despite the inclement conditions, IF helicopters have transported 1 ton of load, evacuated 3 patients requiring oxygen, and safely recovered 43 passengers, including women and children. Indian government's swift action to rescue pilgrims from Kedarnath is being hailed by a foreign pilgrim. In a video shared on social media platform X, the pilgrim thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Uttarakhand's Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami for their effective evacuation efforts. And on the other hand, Indian Army, in close coordination with State Rescue Team and Civil Administration, is engaged in rescue operation in cloudburst-hit areas of Himachal Pradesh. Additional teams and resources are mobilized and deployed for the search and rescue efforts in the affected areas. Indian Army is in close coordination with state police in on-swing rescue efforts in the state. Also, incessant rains coming in from different parts of India are causing flood-like situation in towns and villages. In Jharkhand, the situation has worsened due to continuous rains. The water levels of Harmo and Swarnarekha rivers have surged. And India braces for a monsoon season as moderate to heavy rain showers many parts of India. After a break, the rains have again intensified in the state of Maharashtra. The IMD has issued a red alert for districts of Pune, Satara and Palghar. Orange alert for Konkan coast and Nashik along with Mumbai has been issued. If the situation continues to be grim in the dam area near Pune, the rate of discharge is likely to increase. Pimpri Chinchwad city and surrounding areas and low-lying areas have been cautioned. All right, Shishir Sherlar joins us from Mumbai. Shishir, we've told our viewers that in the state of Maharashtra, red and orange alert have been issued in different districts owing to the severity of the rains which the districts face. You get us the latest to begin with first.
Well, absolutely, Preeti. Well, after a break, the rain has intensified in Maharashtra, and particularly some of the districts are facing a lot of heavy rainfall since a couple of days here. If I name it few, the Pune district and the Satara district have seen intensified rain since last few hours, and that's the reason an alert has been issued by the state government here. Well, apart from the red alert, even the Mumbai, the adjoining district of Mumbai like Thane and Palghar has also been issued the orange alert. The Palghar has issued the red alert because we have seen that incessant rainfall since last 48 hours in Palghar district as well. Well, keeping this entire situation in mind, the agencies, especially the State Disaster Relief and the NDRF, have been deployed at various locations in Maharashtra, particularly in Pune and in Satara district. Because in Pune, we have seen last week with the heavy rainfall, most of the southern part of Pune have submerged in the water. We have seen that the flow, especially in the dam and catchment areas, has increased, resulting a water level increase in most of the rivers. And that's the reason people who have been residing in the banks of the water, especially these rivers, have been shifted to other places. Now even Pune still facing the same threat here because what the IMD has predicted is that Pune again going to face a heavy rainfall due to red alert, and that's the reason people living in the Mula Mutha river, the main river in Pune city, and the people residing in the banks of the Mula Mutha river have been alerted here. And the state authority has also been told that if required, they should be shifted to the safe place. The Kolhapur district, which have also witnessed flood-like situation in last entire week, the water level has started receding here, but still the rainfall continues. If the rainfall continues for the next few hours, and probably we may see that a flood-like situation again occurs in Kolhapur district. As far as Mumbai is concerned, the Mumbai has been issued as the orange alert by the IMD. Well, of course, the State Department along with the BMC has also taken cautions regarding it. As far as the other different districts are concerned, including the Konkan Belt have received quite a heavy rainfall in last 2 weeks here. Even now also the Konkan has been given the orange alert, and that's the reason people residing in the coastline area and especially the fishermen have been instructed not to go in deep sea for the fishing. Yes, Preeti.
All right, Shishir, also a quick word as to what would be the prediction of the IMD in the next few days. How long do we expect the monsoon spell to continue in the state of Maharashtra? Any word on that?
Well, at the onset of the August, the IMD has predicted that the August will not be, in terms of rain, as strong as July we have seen here, and that's the reason some of the places in Maharashtra and some of the district may receive a heavy rainfall. But the overall percentage of rainfall in August will be less compared to July. But in spite of that, we have seen here that some of the districts at the beginning of the August have received quite a heavy rainfall. As I'm talking to you, the Pune district and Pune and along with the Pune Satara also witnessing quite a heavy rainfall here. So obviously these things need to keep in mind. Obviously state government have taken precautionary measures, and the next few days are quite crucial for Pune, Satara and Kolhapur district as what the IMD has predicted.
All right, Shishir, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And let's turn focus to other updates now. 7 people were killed in a collision between a double-decker bus and a car on Agra-Lucknow Expressway. A double-decker bus going from Raebareli to Delhi collided with a car. There were 60 people in the bus at the time of the incident. The accident left around 20 to 25 people injured who were promptly transported to nearby hospital for medical treatment. The emergency services are working to assist the injured and manage the aftermath of the incident. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. Massive fire engulfed a waste material warehouse in Kerala's in Kerala area of India's national capital Delhi on Saturday night. The incident caused burning of piles of waste material including cut car seats and shoe stuff. Now, these were the remains of the factory situated in the locality. Fire tenders were deployed in the night and situation has been controlled till morning hours on Sunday. No news of any casualty has been reported. India's government on Saturday gave the additional charge of Border Security Force or the BSF to Daljit Singh Chaudhary, a 1990 batch Indian Police Service officer of the Uttar Pradesh cadre in northern India, who is also the chief of Sashastra Seema Bal or the SSB. The decision by India's Home Ministry comes following the premature repatriation of incumbent BSF DG Nitin Agrawal and Deputy Special DG West YP Khurania. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick break ahead, but after the break, residents brace up ahead of tropical storm warning issued for southern Florida. India's Nishan Dev bows out of contention at Paris Olympics after his campaign ended in the quarterfinals of the men's 71 kg boxing competition. A musical extravaganza, Akashvani Music Concert 2024, being held at Akashvani's Rang Bhavan Auditorium in New Delhi. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour. Tropical storm Debbie, formed late Saturday, is expected to be a hurricane by Monday and hit Florida's Gulf Coast. The storm turned into a tropical storm after days of spinning as a broad, sloppy system in the Atlantic, finally showing off Cuba's northern coast to Florida. A tropical storm warning is in effect for extreme southern Florida and stretching as far north as the Fort Myers area. Powerful ocean surges are forecast for Bonita Beach northwards that could bring powerful sea waves further inland than normal. More than 6,000 firefighters in California's Central Valley continue to battle the largest blaze in the U.S. on Saturday, which burned its way into the history books as the state's fourth largest conflagration on record. Thousands of firefighters battled to douse the massive park fire, but the blaze that has already destroyed more than 100 structures since it began 5 days ago continues to grow. The fire rapidly grew, doubling in size from Friday to Sunday. About 4,800 firefighters were building and strengthening control lines on Monday, hoping to increase the 12% they had contained. Let's turn focus to sports now. We'll get you all the updates from the Paris Olympics. Day 9 of the Paris Olympics is set to be an exciting day for Indian athletics. The Indian men's hockey team will take on Britain in the quarterfinals, while shutter Lakshya Sen and boxer Lovlina Borgohain will be on the cusp of winning medals. In shooting, Vijay Veer Sidhu and Anish Bhanwala will try to qualify. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh gets us more on this.
Now let's take a look what's in store for Indian contingent on day 9 in Paris Games. First, talk about shooting. In 25-meter rapid-fire pistol men's qualification, Vijay Veer Sidhu and Anish Bhanwala will be there. And speeds women qualification day 2, Maheshwari Chauhan and Raza Dillo will be there. In golf, men's individual stroke play round 4, Shubhankar and Gaganjeet Bhullar will be there on golf course. Talking about hockey, India will face Britain. And if you talk about women's 300-meter steeplechase, in heat 1, Pawel Chaudhary will be there. In men's long jump, in Group B, Jaswin Alrin will be there. Talking about boxing, in the women's 75 kg quarterfinal, Lovlina Borgohain will face Chinese boxer. In badminton, in men's singles, Lakshya Sen will face world number 2 Victor Axelsen of Denmark. In sailing, in men's dinghy race 7 and 8, Vishnu will be there. In women's event, Netra Kumaran will be there. So it was a wrap of what will happen, what is the schedule of Indian contingent on day 9 at the Paris Olympics.
All right, day 8 of the Paris Olympics was disappointing for India. There were 3 medal opportunities, but the athletes fell short of the target. Shooter Manu Bhaker missed out on hat-trick. She finished 4th in the women's 25 meters pistol event. Anandjit Singh Naruka failed to make it to the men's skeet final. Archer Bhajankar, who was knocked out in the round of 16, while Deepika Kumari went down in women's individual archery quarterfinals, and sailor Netra Kumaran failed to make a mark. DD India's correspondent Narayan Singh gets us more from Ground Zero.
Yeah, let's take a look how day 8 panned out for the Indian contingent in Paris Games. Ace Indian shooter Manu Bhaker missed the Paris Olympics medal hat-trick after finishing 4th in the women's 25-meter air pistol shooting event at the National Shooting Center in Châteauroux. Despite occupying top 3 places for most of the final, a poor series of closing stages saw her drop to 4th place after shoot-off with Veronika Major of Hungary. Talking about skeet event, in men's skeet qualification, Anandjit Singh Naruka ended the qualification round 24th position in men's skeet. He will not qualify for the final, with only top 6 going to the final round of the event. Now, talking about archery, India's archery campaign at the Paris 2024 Olympics came to an end following, we can say, the legendary Deepika Kumari's loss in the quarterfinals of the women's individual event. 4-time Olympian Deepika Kumari lost to Korean archer 6-4 in the last 8. The South Korean archer was a part of the gold medal winning trio in the women's team event at the Paris 2024. And India's Bhajan Kaur, meanwhile, was ousted in the round of 16 stage. Meanwhile, in sailing, sailor Netra Kumaran finished in with the 28th position in the race 4 and race 5, and in the 20th position in the race 6 of the women's dinghy event. After completing 6 races, Netra currently stands in the 24th position overall with a total 96 net points. Roundup of the event on day 8 of the Paris Games.
India's Nishant Dey fell short of an Olympic medal after his campaign ended in the quarterfinals of the men's 71 kg Paris Olympics boxing competition in the early hours on Sunday. The unseeded Indian boxer, making his debut at the Summer Games, lost to Mexico's second-seeded Marco Verde by a 4-1 split decision. A victory in this bout would have assured a medal for Nishant, as 2 bronze medals were awarded in Olympic boxing to the losing semi-finalists. 4 of the 5 judges ruled Nishant Dev to be ahead at the end of the opening 3 minutes, but Verde turned out the bout around in the next 2 rounds as fatigue overtook the Indian boxer. Kati Ledecky won a record-equaling career 9th gold medal at the Paris Olympics by claiming an unprecedented 4th women's 800 meters freestyle title. Ledecky's 9th gold from 4 games gives her a share of all-time record for the female Olympians with former Soviet gymnast Larisa Latynina. She also joined fellow American great Michael Phelps as the only swimmer to win 4 Olympic golds in the same event. Later, the US won the mixed 4 x 200 meters medley relay gold with a world record time. China took the silver and Australia the bronze. India are all set to face the hosts Sri Lanka in the second match of the ongoing ODI series in Colombo on Sunday. India will hope to bounce back after the first ODI match ended in a tie after the visitors lost 2 consecutive wickets. Both teams had scored 230 runs. However, weather forecasters have indicated that rain could play a major role in the match. Spinners are likely to dominate the game as they had done in the first ODI. Sri Lankan spinners claimed 9 out of 10 wickets, while Indian spinners took 4 out of 8 wickets, even though they troubled the hosts much more. Sri Lanka's wrist spinner Wanindu Hasaranga has been ruled out of the remainder of the series due to an injury. The 2-day Akashvani Music Concert 2024 is being held at Akashvani's Rang Bhavan Auditorium in New Delhi. Renowned artists including Pandit Rajendra Prasanna and Pandit Jayatirth Mevondi performed on Saturday. right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.